All right. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us here today at our Magstim EGI webinar. My name is Mark Savar. I am the Global Marketing Communications Manager here at Magstim EGI Welcony and our parent brand Welcony. I am so excited to share news that Magstim has achieved FDA clearance on our brand new Magstim Inspire system. And today we want to share some highlights, a workflow, and insights on how you can get up and running fast. This is one of the best systems we've come up with for a while. This is a portable, powerful system, and it's cost effective, and it's designed for you to get up and running quickly. We designed the Magstim Inspire so you can not only start treatments for your patients with MDD, OCD, anxious depression, but as well as start a revenue stream for your practice. So we're here to support you for the long run. Really excited to share that this system is now shipping in North America, and we have other global news coming up very soon as well. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Joe Law, and invite him to join in here and share a little bit more. Joe, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, thank you, Mark. How are you?
You know, every day here at Magstim EGI Welcony, we are excited to improve patient care. And with your help and your insights, we can do even more with this system, don't you think?
Of course.
Excellent. So as your MC of the day, I want to encourage everybody who's on this webinar to please put questions in the Q&A, and I can monitor those as we move along here. At the end, we will have Katarina join us, who's our product manager, to answer questions that I know you're going to come in, because I'm sure you're going to think of some really good questions, and we are going to have the answers because this is what we're all about here. So that's in the chat. Please let me know questions are going to go. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Joe Law, who is the lead engineer here in North America. But Joe, you have a long legacy here at Magstim as well.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I've worked for Magstim for almost 13 years now, so very much lived and breathed TMS. I'm the lead engineer for North America, and I also head the service department based here in Roseville in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. So I'm going to provide the demo for this device today and then hopefully answer any questions along with Katerina at the end of this. So what I'll first do is I'll give an overview of the new system and its hardware. So the main part of the system here, very similar to our Lite, but with huge improvements and really brought it up to date with the newest technologies. So this bottom unit here is our power supply unit, purely for energy conservation. This top unit here is what we call the mainframe. This actually provides the energy to the coil to produce the magnetic field, very much the brains of the actual TMS itself. And then we've upgraded the screen. This is now a full HD touchscreen PC, really powerful and really quick. This up here is our AFC coil. It's been built from a previous model, as it's been so successful over the years. We've just brought the technology up to speed and allowed it to be a lot more of a performing coil. The beauty with Magstim is you only need the one treatment coil for multiple indications. So regardless whether you're doing MDD, anxious depression, or OCD, you only require this one coil. You do not need to require any other purchase of coils to treat those indications. While I'm on the topic of coils, we also provide you with a mapping coil. So this is purely for the mapping process. If you want to do your mappings and your treatment with this coil, you can. I prefer to do the mapping with the mapping coil. It's handheld, it's a lot smaller, it's a lot easier to find those hard to find spots on the head, but more importantly, it is remote control. So you can arm the system, you can fire the coil, you can change the intensity, all from the patient's head. You don't have to leave the patient's head, make adjustments on the screen, and go back and try find that place. You can stay with that patient's head. So very helpful. This is the treatment chair, also comes with the system. So this is a fully remote control and fully motorized chair. You have a remote on the back. It allows you to move the chair in any way you need, up, down. You can change the tilt. You can bring up the footrest, anything of that nature. It also comes with the Magstim head and neck rest. So this rest gives full support to your patient, but more importantly, allows the patient to keep their head still. It prevents them from rotating too much and moving their head to make sure that coil stays in relation to the treatment spot of that patient. I'll switch the camera here so you can see a second. It also comes with what we call the Magstim cheek rest. What this allows you to do is to apply a little bit of pressure on the opposite side of where the coil is placed. This prevents the patient from shying away from that coil. So when you place the coil on the head, it then provides support on the opposite side. Okay, so that is an overview of this system. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump to the software and show you a little overview of the software before going through a workflow on this system. So if I switch to the screen, so what you're seeing now is the screen I have in front of me. When you first turn on the device, you'll need to log in. Every user at your clinic will have their own credentials. It won't be shared credentials. The beauty of this is traceability. So anybody that goes on the device and logs in, you'll be able to see exactly who has done what. So if somebody's gone in there and added data or modified data or treated a patient or anything of that nature, you can see exactly which account did that. So very nice for the traceability. You can also see who has been treating what patients. So I'll just sign in a second. So I currently only have one patient set up, but as you add more patients to your system, they'll start to be listed here. So these would usually be your active patients currently undergoing the TMS. So if I click on this patient and give you a preview of the overview, so the overview is going to be the same for all of your patients. It's obviously just the data within it. So on the left-hand side, you can see general patient details, which is usually first name, last name, date of birth, and a patient ID. This middle portion is kind of the thing you'll be interested in the majority of the time. So this is the treatment plan summary. So we can see the current plan. This patient is having MDD. We can see the treatments completed. This patient has had 2 of their 36 treatments. You can see when they were last treated, who they were last treated by, and their current MT level. So this patient is having a 30% magnetic field treatment, or that was their motor threshold level. And then these 3 buttons down the bottom, this will always be your workflow. So when a patient first comes in, we need to determine a new motor threshold, or what I like to call a mapping, it's also known as. Once that is done, we can then create a treatment plan for that patient. So again, what protocol we want to deliver to this patient and how many times we'd like to do it. And then finally, the run treatment. This is usually only done by a technician or a treater, and these top 2 are done by some medical professional. The run treatment is usually 36 for MDD. Okay, so these 3 tabs at the top. This is a little bit more detail again about the patient. So if I click on RMT history, which is motor threshold history, this will show any prior mappings this patient has had. So prior MT determinations, these will all be recorded. So there's full history on that patient's mapping. Again, I've only got 2 here, but it can show us who did the mapping, what device it was done on, and what the result was from that mapping. Then we have treatment plan. So that'll show you all the treatments this patient has had within their current plan. So we can see this patient has had 2 treatments. They're recorded here. As they start going through more treatments, they will slowly start to begin to list down here. Again, who did it, how many pulses were delivered, what treatment was done, etc. You can even click on that and it'll show you any intensity changes during that time, so you can see exactly how well that treatment went. Treatment history, very similar tab, but what this is any prior TMS this patient has had outside of their treatment plan. So let's say, for example, the patient came in 12 months ago for a particular indication. All of those treatments will be recorded in the treatment history. So you can go back and see exactly what treatments the patient has had, who did them, what their MT result was, what protocol they had, etc., etc. So that's kind of it for the overview. What I'll do is I'll begin a workflow and show you exactly how you have to go through a full workflow in this system to treat a patient. So what I'll do is click on patients in the top left to go back to the main screen, which shows the active patients. And then I'm going to click on new patients in the top left to add a new patient. So some fairly basic details to go in here: first name, last name, and the date of birth. It also requires a unique password ID. What I usually suggest clinics to do is whatever the ID is within your EHR or EMR system, match it to this. It's much easier when it comes to doing the admin side of things. And that patient is now created, so we can see the patient details on the left-hand side. But what we can see now is the plan summary is empty. We can't do the bottom 2 workflows because, again, when a patient first comes in, we have to determine an MT on that patient. So let's begin an MT. It'll always ask you to confirm the date of birth. The idea is you should verbally check with the patient their date of birth. If it's correct, it'll allow you into this profile. If it's incorrect, then it's likely you're in the wrong profile and need to go find the correct one. Okay, so we're beginning the mapping process. It wants to know if you want to rename the target name. In this case, I'm looking at MDD, which is what we call the C3 location on the motor strip. You can change the target name if you'd like. I often leave this as default because it's very handy. It's telling you the motor strip and it's also telling you the date and time. So very easy to track down. Okay, so I'll share my other camera here so you can see what I'm doing. So I've already placed a cap on my patient's head. At this point, you need to place a cap on the patient's head, make some markings to decide where the patient's C3 is. Again, the C3 is the location I need to find for MDD to elicit a thumb twitch on that patient. So I'll grab my mapping coil and I'll start to deliver a few pulses around where C3 would be to kind of simulate exactly me searching for that thumb twitch to elicit a thumb twitch. So if I deliver a couple of pulses just to show you what happens on the screen. So as I'm delivering pulses, you can see them appear on the screen. So it knows that the pulse has been delivered. So every time I'll deliver 3. So what you can see there is every time I deliver a pulse, it records the intensity that I fired at, and it also gives me a waveform at the bottom here. Admittedly, it's flat because I don't have a patient in the chair, but that is actually our EMG feature. So to speak a little bit more about that, we have an EMG box down here, which allows you to plug in some generic EMG electrodes, for example, like these. You can then stick those electrodes to the patient's thumb or whatever motor response you're looking for, depending on the indication. Plug them into the EMG box. If your then patient has a muscle signal coming from that location, you'll see a nice sine wave within that waveform. So there's an abundance of benefits here, but one of the main ones is we've noticed the traditional method of the thumb twitch is completely fine, but it only gets you so far. After that thumb stops twitching, we've noticed that there is still a muscle response happening within that thumb. So this will pick it up even if there's not a visual response. So that sometimes allows you to bring the MT even further down than the traditional thumb twitch method visually. You can use these in tandem, you can use the traditional thumb method, or you can use the EMG. It's entirely up to you. It's there to help you and assist you during the mapping. Something else you've had feedback is sometimes when a patient's entire hand twitches, it's difficult to understand, has the fingers caused the thumb to move, or was there actually a muscle response in that patient's thumb? The EMG will tell you that. If anything has happened in the muscle in that thumb, the EMG will pick it up. Okay, so again, at this point, we would still be doing the mapping stage. So we're looking for that thumb twitch or the EMG response around the C3. And then we'd start to work our intensity down and down until we can find the smallest thumb twitch possible or EMG reading with the least amount of intensity required. So that's what you'd need to do. Again, I'm not going to get a response out of my patient today because it is a mannequin. So for the sake of this demo, let's just deliver a pulse and we'll pretend that this is the perfect location, the perfect intensity required. So what I'm going to do is click register to tell the system that, yeah, the intensity needed, the smallest intensity needed for this patient is 30%. So 30% is their MT result. Okay, so that's the mapping process done. What we need to do now before we actually start treating this patient is build a treatment plan for them. So in the past, what you've needed to do is every time a patient is sat in the chair, you would need to just use the controller to set up a protocol every time and obviously keep a count on how many treatments you have done. With this system, you can set up a plan and it'll save that template for you and allow you to continue using that throughout the patient's journey. So new treatment plan. You've got 2 options here. You've got combined treatment templates and you've got individual treatment templates. So combined treatment templates is if you have a patient that you might want to do more than one indication on, let's say, for example, you want to treat them with MDD and OCD, you can set them up with a combined treatment template. So you can select the both protocols you want to use and the intensity needed for them. In this demo, I'm just going to stick with individual. So individual treatments is if we're just doing one individual indication. So let's drop that down and show you what's there. So currently, there's 3 protocols here. There's the theta burst protocol, which is used for MDD, also known as ITBS, a 3-minute protocol. There's an 18-minute MDD protocol and a 37-minute MDD protocol. With this system, we will also have OCD protocol listed here, as OCD is also cleared. So for this demo, I'm just going to select ITBS because it's a 3-minute protocol. So let's click ITBS. Oh, apologies, there's one more thing I want to highlight there. What you can also do, if there's something you might want to do that is not included in this list, maybe there's some off-label protocol you want to do, or maybe some research, what you could do is click the plus symbol above that list. It allows you to add your own complete custom protocol. So every parameter is adjustable and customizable to you. And then what you can also do is add a treatment name. It'll then add it to your default list so you can use it moving forward. You don't have to keep on putting the custom protocol in. It will save it to your list. Okay, so let's select theta burst, ITBS. Okay, it wants a plan name. It's not too important. It's purely for this patient's profile. I like to name it the indication, but you can name it whatever you want. It'll also default to the clinical standard number of treatments, total number of treatments. So for example, I selected MDD earlier on, so it's going to default to 36. If you select, for example, OCD, this is going to default to 29 because that's clinical standard, but you can change that as and when you want. That is the treatment plan set up. So now the last thing to do is just run treatment. So let's click on run treatment. Again, it's going to ask you to confirm the date of birth to make sure you're in the right profile. And now this is the treatment screen. So we can see at the top, it's telling me to please switch to the treatment coil because it knows that my mapping coil is connected and you can't do a treatment with the mapping coil. It's purely for the mapping coil. So I'll just show you quickly how to change out the coil. So just push back the wings, pull the coil out, and it's as simple as that. You just need to do the same in reverse for the treatment coil. So grab the treatment coil connector, plug that in the front, and snap the wings on. And then that will allow you to get rid of that message at the top. So I'll jump back to this screen. So this is the treatment screen. So what you can do here is change the intensity, or I should say lower the intensity. So if your patient's having TMS for the first time, they're probably going to be a little bit anxious about it, and you want to get them used to the actual TMS. So you might not want to treat them at full dosage for the first couple of treatments. So what this allows you to do is dial it down. It will only allow you to dial up as much as what was set by the medical professional during the mapping and the treatment plan. But you can dial it down if you do want to take it down for the patient, or maybe they're having a little bit of discomfort that day, you can turn it down. Again, this system will record all of that. So even if somebody that is heading the TMS department wants to know about these intensity changes, they can see that after the fact. They don't have to be here when it's happening. So I'm going to press the check mark on that to check the intensity I want. I now need to place my coil in the right location. So I've already made a marking on the cap where I need to treat that patient. I've labeled it as treatment. So the way this arm works is you unlock it in the center, and it'll unlock all of the joints. So that one unlock here unlocks all 3 joints here. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So place the coil on the right location, making sure that your angles and your tangential is correct. And then once you're happy with that location, you can just lock the arm up and let it go. There is also some fine adjustments by here. If you want to maybe change the rotation, you can use these fine adjustments to change the rotation and tighten that back up. So once you've found the correct location that you want and you're ready to begin the treatment, you can press the orange button down the bottom to arm the system and charge it up. And then we're ready to begin. So we can now press the green button to begin the treatment. And we'll notice the pulses remaining start to lower and the time remaining comes down. So it's just a case of making sure that that coil remains in the same place in relation to the patient's treatment location, and wait for that time to go down. But once that is completed, that would then be the full workflow. A couple of things I want to discuss is this system is cloud-based, so all of this data is available not just on the system itself, but you can log into a desktop or laptop using the portal. That'll allow you to access any of this data without actually having to interact with the system itself. So let's say you're away from the clinic this week, but you want to see how well treatments are going. You can log into that portal and see exactly that. If you have admin people that you maybe want to upload data to your EMR or EHR system, and maybe they're not in the office or can't get to the machine because a patient is being treated, that's not a problem. Again, they can log into the portal on a desktop or laptop and access that data and upload it to the cloud. With it being cloud-based, something else which is nice is if you have more than one system, that data will be shared or can be shared amongst the systems if you like. You can have them independent if you want. So that means that one patient is not limited to being treated on one machine. As long as they have their cap, they can be treated on any of the machines because the data on their profile will be available. With it being cloud-based also, we can now push remote updates to your system. So if we develop new features, any new kind of fixes or anything of that nature, we can push that to your system. And more importantly, we can push indications. If we get a clearance for a new indication and the system is able to do it, we can push that indication out to your system. But again, that is the workflow. I hope there's some questions and that's been helpful. Mark, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Joe Law. As always, your insights are very valuable. And having worked with the Magstim for so long, I was looking at the system earlier and I was thinking how remarkably clear the screen is that is on top of the system. It's crystal clear.
Yeah, it's really nice. It is HD and it's top spec as well, so it runs very quickly, and the touchscreen is really functional as well.
Fantastic. We do have some questions that have come in. I'm going to ask Katarina to join us here, and as the product manager here, she can share some insights as well to some of these questions that are coming in as we speak. I do have to share with everyone attending that this is a webinar for a general demonstration of the system. It's for informational purposes only, and certainly doesn't cover all aspects. So please consult the Magstim user manuals to answer questions that are not going to come or that may or may not be included in this. All right, so some live questions have just come in. Joe, can you show the coil locking again? The screen was on the screen, so I think what they're saying is as they're watching, they could actually see the console they couldn't see. So can you show how to lock the coil locking system again? Thank you.
Of course. So this is our medical grade arm here. So it's kind of an L-shaped bracket that you can see. There is a locking function in the center. This locking function doesn't just control this joint here, but it controls all the joints. So the ball joint here, the joint here, and the lower joint. So that allows you to move the coil freely wherever you want on all of those joints, and you can put it in place. There's also a fine adjustment tuner at the top, which allows you to change the rotation if you'd like to. So you can unlock this, change the rotation, and then lock that back up in the location you want. There's actually quite a lot of adjustments you can do here. I'm not sure how you can see this, but this lever at the bottom, this actually allows you to bring the entire arm up and down. If you may have a tall patient in the chair, you might want to bring the entire arm up. If you've got a shorter patient, you might want to bring it down. If maybe you don't like it being on this side of the system, that's not a problem. You can pull the arm out and you can swap it to the other side. So there's quite a lot of adjustments you can do here to make sure it works for you. Again, people like to do different things. So instead of having it up here and being treated like this, you can actually place the arm down here and have it like this if you'd prefer to do that. So there's multiple ways here you can use this arm. It's what works for you. Everybody has a different preference. But there's plenty of adjustments there to do.
Fantastic. And part of that question include how do you know if the coil is remaining in the correct location? And you, as the treater, you would want to sort of monitor that, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Again, you'd have to make sure with the cap method. I mean, this has been around for a long time. So you make the markings on the cap. You need to make sure that the center of this coil is touching the center of that marking on the cap. So that's what you need to do with that.
Great, thank you, Joe. So a couple questions have come in about the air-cooled coil, and I know you've talked about the air-cooled coils before. So in terms of the performance of this coil itself has been used for a long time. Katarina, when you were working on the product development side of it, this was the coil to go to, correct, for the patient treatments, correct?
100%. The TMS coils for the Horizon system have a couple of very important benefits. I would say the main one is that it shows no pulse decay. Now, pulse decay could technically occur when certain components like the coil or the power system cannot maintain the same level of magnetic intensity, right, across all pulses over time. And that will lead to a weaker stimulation that is not stable. Now, the Magstim Horizon TMS devices have all been specifically designed to show no pulse decay. So I see that as one of the main benefits, and that's related to the technology of the air-cooled coil. Now, in addition, we also have quite a high EPV value. That stands for equivalent pulse value. That is a method that Magstim uses to track the coil's life expectancy. It ensures quality and safety according to healthcare regulations. And for the Horizon AFC coil, I think for ITBS, you can do 7 days per week, 12 treatments per day, as I remember from the test results we have. Then you can have a expectancy of 5 years lifetime for a coil. So I'm
Great.
pretty
That's
happy with
very
the quality of it.
absolutely. And then I'll turn it over to Joe too, from a obviously from a service and ongoing patient treatment protocol. The air-cooled coils offer a longevity of life, correct, Joe?
Yeah, exactly what Katarina said. From an actual service point of view, what I really like about these kind of calls is our systems are very modular. So if you do require any sort of servicing, anything of that nature, it doesn't require a lot of work to remove the coils or remove the system and have it replaced, anything like that. I mean, you're talking a couple of minutes. So this coil here, there's just a couple of clips up here which will take the coil from the arm, and then again, it's not attached to anything. So from a serviceability aspect, it's really, really good for us being that modular device.
Fantastic. A question's just come in about we're live here, folks. Are you also able to treat right-sided protocols with this system? And I think what they're saying is you would do a custom treatment, correct, Joe or Katarina, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think right-sided is going to be anxiety-based, so that would be an off-label protocol. But I mean, the system is not limited. It is able to do it, but it is considered off-label, so we do need to make that clear.
Fantastic. There was a question about what makes the system easy to use and what's is sort of intuitive about the operation. Katarina, when you were developing the product, the goal was to create a system that people could get up and running fast, but you also looked at things that you could do to make it easy to use, correct?
Absolutely. I would say the largest benefit from the Horizon Inspire is that it's based on the Horizon Lite, which has been developed for a long time ago and has been in the field for a while. So we have been able to get feedback on that and kept, of course, the highlights of it, the parts that were preferred by the users, and then improved on it. Now, one of the improvements has been the software. I would say that's one of the largest improvements. It is based on the software that is already used for the Horizon 3 system. Also, that has been out in the market for a while. We've been able to collect the feedback from the customers. We have received a lot of positive feedback on the workflows that are available for that system. And so we know that it was a very good choice to apply also for the Horizon Inspire. And I think most people, even if they have very little TMS experience, they will find it very intuitive to use, and yeah, they can get started fast.
Great, fantastic. Question about ongoing costs and operational things. Joe, you work with practices all over the country, all over the world. There are no ongoing costs, correct, Joe?
Great question. Something we're very passionate about here in Magstim is ongoing costs. So we're very aware that there are systems that require pay-per-use or subscription or very high expensive disposables and consumables every time you treat a patient. With this device, there is no pay-per-use, there is no subscription, and there is no high-cost consumables whatsoever. So the only thing, for full transparency, the only consumable you require to treat a patient on this device is one, the caps. So you would need a cap to treat a patient. And then two, if you decide you want to use the EMG feature during the mapping, and again, this is only done once per patient, you would be required to buy some generic EMG electrodes. But they are the only two consumables and costs required with this system.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
And then, of course, there was a question about ongoing service and support, and this is what this team does here, and we do globally, really, correct?
Yeah, great question. I mean, that very much is my forte, being the head of the service department. So, yeah, we're based here in Roseville, Minnesota for the US market. So that's where we do the servicing and the support. So the support is available throughout the day. We answer within minutes. This isn't a case of, we get back to you within 2 working days. We get back to you instantly. So also, if something goes down with your system, we do overnight shipments to make sure you're back up and running the next day. So the system comes with 2 years warranty. That covers everything. So that's replacement, that's repair, that's shipping, that's anything of that nature. And the system being very modular, it allows us to do that plug and play, so we can get you back up and running overnight. Kind of brings me on to my next thing is this system is kind of available out the box. So when you purchase this device, there's no kind of installation required. The user can actually get this out of the box and assemble it within a few minutes. So it's very modular. Again, with the system, it does come with training and installation, but just to show you how easy that the user can install it themselves.
Great. I think that's a fantastic update on that. Question just come in about new treatments and software updates, and does the system require an internet connection? And I'll defer to Katerina or Joe on that. I think we do have to have an internet connection at least to get things up and running, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, you can have it as an offline variant, and that is not a problem. We understand there's hospitals out there that have very strict IT policies and don't want other devices on the network. That's totally fine. We're able to work with that and make it an offline variant. The way we've released it is an online variant. It is kind of a desire to have a network. It provides you with a lot more features. Again, you'll be able to get software updates, etc., that kind of thing. But if internet is a problem, that's fine. We can make an offline variant. Yeah.
Great. This one might be for Katerina. It's more about what's inside the software itself. There is some patient data analytics, correct, that you can get on this, correct, Katerina?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the Magstim Connect software part that is coming with the system. It's part of the software. You get it included in the price. It offers a lot of different benefits for a clinic. It has a centralized data environment to manage all of your patients. You can save a variety of patient information, including the motor thresholds, treatment history, any clinical assessments. You can access it from your device at the clinic. You can access it remotely if you prefer. It complies to all the data security regulations. You can share data across multiple Horizon Inspire devices. So if you have multiple in your clinic, it doesn't matter which one you treated your patient with. If you happen to have a Horizon 3 system, that has Magstim Connect as well. And if you have multiple clinic locations, you can even set it up to share your data across those.
Great,
So
thank you.
most of our customers like that a lot.
Fantastic. Joe, quick question about like when you put the treatment coil on your patient's head, otherwise known as the mannequin's head, we saw you adjusting it in a very specific way. Can you show us again what you would consider sort of be the ideal treatment location on that patient's head?
Sure. So again, we're speaking specifically here about MDD. One really important thing, which I often tell people with MDD, and if I switch to this camera, is when you're doing the mapping stage, 45-degree angle to the midplane is very important. So I'll try my best to show you what I mean by 45 degrees. So this is the midplane, this center line going down here. This handle needs to be 45 degrees to the patient's head. So for example, this would be 90, this would be 0, this would be 45. The reason why we tell people 45 degrees, and the best way to explain it is going with the grain of the brain. It's the angle that requires the least intensity to get the largest response from the patient. Again, if you're off by a few degrees, there'll be a slight difference, but it's not the end of the world. But again, the closer to 45 you can get, the better that'll be. And then that is obviously the same then when it comes to placing the treatment coil on that location. We want to try keep that 45 degrees to the midplane.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Couple questions about Security is our system online is secure, of course, for all the data and all the backups, correct? Yes.
Yeah, obviously we've had to go through an abundance of different regulatories here and audits, for example, to make sure that we apply by some pretty big rules, HIPAA, FDA, patient data, etc. So, and we have an abundance of security features in place from multiple encryptions, etc. So, yeah, very safe. And again, we've been cleared for that.
Great. And then there was another question about cost for the Connect software, and there's no cost on that, I believe.
Again, no subscription, no pay-per-use, no high-cost consumables. It is included.
Fantastic. In terms of the application in and of itself, when this system is this is a bit of a shift for Magstim in the sense that we now have a sort of ready to go system out of the box to an extent, although we're going to install. But within that, we still continue to support them with service and support questions. So if I was to purchase this system, is what this person is saying, then we would continue to support them if they have questions about operating.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're always here. We're a call away, an email away. You can even FaceTime, Zoom, call us. Yeah, we often help people, even if it's just usability issues, anything of that nature. Sometimes they just have a random question they just want to confirm with us. We're always here to support you. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Another question just came in about, it was mentioned that there could be an offline build. Does it mean that it would be usable if the internet connection was suddenly lost, and if we have to build or to be used offline? And I believe, well, I'll let you, Katerina, answer that.
I'm happy to answer that. Yeah, so even if you are an online variant of the system, and you do lose internet connection, currently it's set up by standard that you can work offline for 7 days. So obviously you've got 7 days to reconnect the system to a network and it doesn't interrupt you. The reason why we say 7 days is obviously we want to make sure that you're aware that your system is offline. And then 2, after 7 days, you've got a lot of patient data there that now hasn't been backed up to the cloud. So again, you can extend that. It can be longer than 7 days, but the default is 7 days. But yeah, if you lose internet, you've got 7 days offline. Once you gain internet again and that network connects, it resets that 7 days. If you lose internet later on, that 7 days will begin again. So.
Great. Next one is probably for Katerina. I guess it's just in terms of what portability means. And this system, you can move relatively easily around between rooms, correct, Katerina?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you see it already. The footprint is quite small. I think it's about 30-inch on each side, something like this.
Yeah, I think it's 38, and the smallest is 30. I think, yeah, it's something around that.
Something like that. I mean,
yep.
We listen to our customers. It is a flexible system, easy to move also between rooms of a clinic if that is necessary. And we know that healthcare professionals want also such a system that is, again, easy to unpack, easy to use, easy to get started with, and also easy to move around if needed.
Great, thank you. Just a couple more. Does this system require a Microsoft security update? I'm not sure what I would know what that would be, but is this something to do with Microsoft? I thought we're sort of on the own platform, correct?
Yeah, great question. So we are Microsoft based, so it is based on a Microsoft platform, but all of that is done via the cloud. So obviously we have a central location where the software is on the cloud. If there's a new update required, even a Microsoft security required, that would be put into the cloud. The system would then notify you to say, update available, please download, and it'll add it to your device. There's nothing the user needs to do to add any new software on the back end. That is done all via the cloud. And that's the same for our software. If we release a new version of software, it'll show up on the system and say, this new feature is available. Would you like it? If you press check, it'll download it and then add that feature to your device.
Fantastic. We have a question from a researcher. This system can be used for both research and clinical applications. And I guess within that, what they're probably asking is, in terms of the neuroscience applications, you could do a number of different protocols on that front, correct?
Exactly, and actually more importantly, you can use our sham adapters with this device. So you don't need to purchase additional coils. You actually have the option to buy something called a sham adapter, which goes between the connector of the coil and the connector of the system, and it'll change your coil, your treatment coil, to either an active coil or a sham coil. So yeah, there's multiple things here you can do which would assist you for research on this device.
All right, two more, and then we're going to let everybody go for the day. When you look at the Magstim warranty and service plans for that support, I mean, there's a number of different options, but it comes with a warranty, I believe, correct?
2 years manufacturer's warranty. Again, that covers everything. So accidental damage is the only thing it's not going to cover, but everything else is covered. So that means replacement, repairs, shipment. If we need to fly somebody out there, if we need to ship stuff overnight, that is at no cost to the clinic. That's at Magstim's cost. So fully covered. That's for 2 years. You do then have the addition of carrying on that policy at a yearly charge going forward.
Fantastic. And in terms of it, you know, Katerina, I know that when you were developing this for the original launch of things, you were looking at something that was intuitive, right? So you looked at how this could actually be used quickly, correctly?
Absolutely. We mentioned it a couple of times already. Like I said before, it is quick to set up. You can basically use it out of the box. And I would say once more, the software is just very easy to use. It's simple, it's clear, and that's not only what I say, it's the feedback we got from our customers, and why we decided to also have it installed on this system. So again, I think it's going to be a system that both for people who are experienced, but also for people who are new to TMS, they will find it just a breeze to use. And I look forward to hearing the new feedback from the field as well.
Fantastic. We're kind of wrapping up on the time that we allotted for the day. I want to say thank you to everybody who attended. Thank you, Katerina. Thank you, Joe. As always, we appreciate everybody who attended, your work that you're improving mental health care around the world. It's our honor to support your work. There were some technical questions about some power things that were in there, and we will be responding directly to the people who posed those questions. If you have further needs, please reach out to marketing@magstim.com, and we would be more than happy to reach back to you and provide more insights, data, facts, and other things about what we do here at Magstim. We're passionate about what we do. We're here for you for the long run. So I want to thank everybody for attending today, and go out and have a great rest of your week, and let us know if we can help in any way. And thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you all.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much, all. Thank you.